There was a time when every British home had its own smell, not from a plug-in or an aerosol, but from 100 small rituals your nan performed without ever thinking about them. A bowl left on the windowsill, a bag tucked into a drawer, something gently simmering on the back of the range. These habits kept terraced houses smelling clean and warm long before the chemical fog of modern air fresheners. Most have been forgotten entirely. Number 14 was in nearly every wardrobe in the country, and number 3 is so powerful that one sniff can still throw you back 50 years. Stick around, because by the end you will want to try at least one. Let us begin our countdown with number 20. Number 20, damp tea leaves scattered before sweeping. Before the Hoover hummed in every hallway, the carpet was beaten, brushed, and swept by hand, and the great enemy was dust. Your nan had a trick for it that cost absolutely nothing. She would save the used leaves from the morning pot, squeeze them almost dry, then scatter the cold, damp leaves across the rug before reaching for the stiff brush. The slightly moist tea clung to the dust and held it down, so instead of sending a grey cloud up into the parlour, the dirt gathered into the leaves and swept away clean. The room was left with the faintest green, earthy freshness, like the inside of a tea caddy. A week's worth of leaves was free, gathered in a saucer by the sink. It was a habit born of thrift and good sense, passed from mother to daughter without a word of explanation. When the upright vacuum arrived in the 1950s and the 1960s, the brush and the tea leaves went out together, and we forgot that the morning brew could clean the floor as well as start the day. Number 19, the bowl of vinegar left out after frying. Fish on a Friday was a fixture in British homes, but the smell of it could linger in the kitchen until Sunday. Your nan did not light a match or spray anything. She poured a little white vinegar into a saucer or a teacup and left it sitting on the worktop overnight. By morning, the sharp tang of frying had simply gone, swallowed up, and the kitchen smelled of nothing at all, which after a fish supper was a small miracle. The acetic acid neutralized the odor molecules in the air rather than masking them. The same quiet chemistry that made vinegar such a workhorse around the house. A bottle of malt or white vinegar cost a few pence and earned its place 10 times over. Some women set a bowl out after boiling cabbage, others after a fry-up, knowing the smell would be drawn from the curtains and the cupboards by morning. We reach now for an aerosol that perfumes the stink rather than removing it. Your nan knew the difference, and her kitchen smelled clean rather than floral. Number 18, bicarbonate of soda worked into the carpet. Long before carpet powders lined the supermarket shelf, that humble blue tub of bicarbonate of soda did the job for pennies. Once a fortnight, your nan would sprinkle a fine dusting across the front room carpet, sometimes with a few drops of lavender oil stirred through it first, then leave it to sit for an hour while she got on with the dusting. The bicarb settled into the pile and quietly absorbed the smells a busy house collected. The pipe smoke, the dog, the damp of 100 rainy afternoons. Then she swept or brushed it out, and the carpet smelled neutral and clean again, not perfumed over the top of the old. It was the same powder she used for baking, for scouring the sink, for soothing a bee sting. A single box that seemed to do everything. A tub cost next to nothing and lasted for months in the cupboard under the stairs. We pay good money now for branded carpet fresheners that are mostly bicarb with a scent added, never realizing the cheaper, better version sat in the kitchen all along. Number 17, beeswax and turpentine furniture polish. Walk into a well-kept British home in the 1950s, and the first thing you noticed was the smell of the furniture. That warm, honeyed, faintly resinous scent came from real beeswax polish, often made at home by melting beeswax into turpentine until it formed a soft paste. Your nan would work it into the sideboard, the dining table, the banister with a soft cloth and a great deal of elbow grease, buffing until the wood gleamed and the whole room took on that rich, settled smell of a properly cared-for house. The wax fed the timber and sealed it, while the scent lingered for days and seemed to mean that everything was in order. Polishing day was a ritual, often a Friday, so the house was sweet for the weekend. A tin of proper wax polish lasted an age, and the smell of it is one of the most powerful triggers of childhood memory many Britons still have. Spray polishes in their pressurized cans promised the same shine in seconds, but the silicone slick and the synthetic perfume never came close to the deep, living smell of beeswax on old oak. Number 16. Coal tar and carbolic soap by the sink. The smell of clean, in a great many British homes, was not flowers at all. It was the sharp, medicinal, almost antiseptic tang of coal tar and carbolic soap, sitting in a dish by the kitchen sink and in the bathroom besides. Brands like Wright's coal tar and the deep red carbolic block were what your nan washed her hands with after the garden, scrubbed the doorstep with, and wiped down the surfaces with. That distinctive smell signaled hygiene in a way no perfumed soap could, and it clung pleasantly to hands and tea towels and the very air of the scullery. It was cheap, it lasted, and it did not pretend to be a bouquet. It simply smelled scrupulously, reassuringly clean. A bar cost coppers and was used right down to the last sliver, which was then mashed into the next bar so nothing was wasted. Tastes changed, regulations tightened the old formulas, and the soft, sweet-smelling soaps took over the bathroom. But for those who grew up with it, one whiff of coal tar still means a freshly scrubbed house and a nan who would not tolerate grime. Number 15. The daily airing. Windows flung open. This was less a trick than an article of faith. No matter the season, no matter the weather, your nan threw open the windows every single morning to let the stale night air out and the fresh air in. Beds were stripped back to breathe. The bedroom windows opened wide for an hour, and a through draft was created so the whole house could exhale. Even in the depths of a Yorkshire winter, with frost on the inside of the glass, she would crack a window and declare that a house needed to breathe, or it would go fusty. And she was right. That daily exchange of air carried out the cooking smells, the damp, the stuffiness of sleep, and replaced them with something clean and cold and alive. It cost nothing but the willingness to feel a chill for half an hour. We seal our homes now against every draft for the sake of the heating bill, double-glazed and trapped, and then wonder why the air feels heavy and stale. Your nan understood that the freshest thing in the house was the air outside it, and all you had to do was let it in. Number 14. Mothballs and camphor in the wardrobe. Open almost any British wardrobe before the 1980s, and the same sharp, white, unmistakable smell hit you. The smell of mothballs. Those little balls of naphthalene or camphor were tucked into pockets, hung in muslin bags among the winter coats, and dropped into the drawers where the woolens were folded away for summer. They were there to keep the clothes moths at bay, and they did the job ruthlessly, but they left their own powerful signature on everything they touched. To a generation, that smell simply meant best clothes, the Sunday coat, the suit kept for funerals and weddings, brought out smelling of the wardrobe and aired on the line before wearing. It was the smell of occasion. A packet cost very little, and a few balls lasted a whole season. The smell was strong, some would say overpowering, and modern noses find it harsh, which is largely why it vanished as cedar and lavender took over the job more gently. but for sheer staying power and for the memories locked inside it, nothing in the British home was more reliably, instantly recognizable than the wardrobe full of mothballs. Number 13. Cedar balls and blocks among the linens. For those who found the mothball too fierce, there was the gentler, sweeter alternative, and it had been used for centuries. Cedar wood, carved into balls, blocks, and little hangers, was tucked among the jumpers and the bed linen to do the same protective work without the chemical reek. The natural oils in the cedar repelled the moths and the silverfish, while leaving behind a warm, woody, faintly sweet scent that made opening the linen press a small pleasure. Your Nan would give the blocks a light sanding with a bit of glass paper every few months to bring the smell back to life when it faded. A clever habit that kept a single set of cedar working for years. It cost a little more than mothballs, but lasted far longer and never made the clothes smell of anything unpleasant. The towels, the sheets, the spare blankets all carried that quiet, clean woodiness. It is one of the few habits on this list quietly making a comeback today, sold as a natural moth deterrent, though most buyers have no idea their great-grandmothers were doing exactly the same thing 100 years ago. Number 12. Lavender bags in every drawer. If there was one scent that meant a well-kept British home, it was lavender, and your Nan grew it, dried it, and packed it into little fabric bags by the dozen. Hung from the wardrobe rail, tucked between folded blouses, slipped under the sofa cushions and inside the pillowcases, those small bags of dried lavender heads released their soft, sweet, calming scent every time something was moved or pressed. She made the bags herself from scraps of cotton and offcuts of ribbon, filling them from the lavender bush by the back door that had probably been there as long as the house. When the smell faded after a year or two, a gentle squeeze would crush the heads and revive it again. Lavender did double duty, smelling beautiful while also keeping the moths away from the woolens, which is why it so often shared a drawer with the cedar. It cost nothing but the growing and the drying. We buy synthetic lavender plug-ins now that smell only of the idea of lavender, while the real thing grew wild and free in half the gardens in Britain. Number 11. The pine disinfectant ritual. There is a smell that means a freshly cleaned British home to millions, and it is the sharp, piney, faintly old-fashioned smell of disinfectant in the mop bucket. Whether it was the deep amber Dettol, a splash of pine fluid, or for the truly devoted a few drops of concentrated Zoflora, the floors were mopped with it, the doorstep washed with it, the bins rinsed with it, and the whole house took on that clean, slightly antiseptic, comforting smell that said the cleaning had been done properly. Your Nan kept the bottle under the sink and used it with a confident hand, a capful in the bucket of hot water, the scent rising in the steam as she worked her way backwards out of the kitchen so as not to walk on the wet floor. A bottle lasted for weeks, and the smell of it lingered for hours afterwards. It was the smell of effort, of a job done. Modern fashion drifts towards the unscented and the natural, but for a great many people, that piney tang remains the only smell that truly signals a clean house, exactly as it did in their grandmother's day. Number 10. Scented shelf and drawer liner paper. Open the chest of drawers in a well-run home of the past, and the contents did not merely lie on bare wood. They rested on paper, and that paper was very often scented. Your Nan lined the bottoms of the drawers and the shelves of the airing cupboard with patterned liner paper, sometimes bought ready perfumed, sometimes dabbed with a little lavender water or eau de cologne herself. The paper protected the wood, caught the dust, and most of all kept the folded clothes and linens smelling faintly sweet for months on end. Every time a drawer was opened, that gentle scent rose up to meet you. It was the kind of small, invisible care that defined a proud household, The sort of thing nobody saw but everybody noticed, without quite knowing why a particular house smelled so nice. A roll of liner paper cost very little and dressed every drawer in the house. We have largely abandoned the habit, leaving our clothes to sit on bare chipboard, and lost one more quiet layer of freshness that worked away unseen, day and night, asking nothing in return. Number 9. Fresh flowers in the front room. The parlor, the front room, the best room kept for visitors, almost always held a vase of fresh flowers, and they were there for the scent as much as the sight. In summer it was sweet peas, grown-up canes in the back garden specifically because they perfumed an entire room from a single jam jar full. In other seasons it might be stocks, freesias, wallflowers, or a few stems of pinks, anything that smelled as good as it looked. Your Nan picked them in the morning when the scent was strongest, and changed the water daily so they lasted and stayed sweet. The flowers cost nothing if they came from the garden, and even a sixpenny bunch from the market was an affordable luxury that transformed a room. Number 8. The pomander, the clove-studded orange. As the nights drew in towards Christmas, a particular smell began to fill British homes, warm and spiced and instantly festive, and it came from the humble pomander. Your Nan would take a fresh orange and patiently push dozens of whole cloves into the skin, often in neat rows or patterns, then roll it in a little cinnamon and orris root powder and leave it to dry and cure for a week or two. The finished pomander was hung in the wardrobe or set in a bowl, where it scented the air for weeks with that unmistakable blend of citrus and clove that meant the festive season had truly begun. That living, changing fragrance filled the house in a way no manufactured scent ever could, shifting through the day as the flowers warmed in the sun. We tend to buy flowers now for how they photograph rather than how they smell, choosing showy, scentless blooms, and in doing so, we have quietly thrown away the whole point of having them in the house at all. It was a job often handed to the children, a sticky, fragrant afternoon that became part of the run-up to Christmas itself. The whole thing cost the price of an orange and a packet of cloves. As the pomander dried, it shrank and hardened, and the smell only deepened, lasting through to the new year. It is one of the loveliest forgotten habits of all, a homemade air freshener that doubled as a craft, a tradition, and a memory in the making. Number 7. Lemon, the all-purpose freshener. Long before lemon scent was bottled and sold as the smell of cleanliness, the actual fruit was doing the work in British kitchens up and down the country. Your Nan rubbed a cut lemon over the wooden chopping board to lift the smell of onion and fish, dropped the squeezed halves down the sink to sweeten the drains, and wiped the inside of the fridge with lemon to keep it from going stale. A bowl of water with lemon slices warmed gently on the stove cleared cooking smells from the whole room. The natural oils and acids cut through grease and odor alike, leaving behind that bright, sharp, clean smell that we have spent decades trying to fake in a spray bottle. Nothing was wasted. The spent skins from the morning's marmalade or the Sunday gammon found a second life freshening the house. A few lemons cost little and earned their keep many times over. We pay now for lemon-scented everything, while real lemons sit in the fruit bowl, and most people have entirely forgotten that the genuine article cleans and freshens better than anything the chemical industry has managed to imitate. Number 6. Eau de cologne and lavender water dabbed about. A small bottle of cologne, very often the green and gold 4711, or a bottle of lavender water from the chemist, was not only for the person, it was for the house. Your Nan would dab a little on a handkerchief and tuck it behind a radiator or among the cushions. Sprinkle a few drops on the lampshades so the warmth of the bulb released the scent, or freshen a stuffy bedroom with a light splash on the bedclothes. It was an old, genteel habit that lent a room a soft, expensive freshness for the cost of a few drops. The smell was light and clean, never cloying, the very opposite of a modern plug-in's relentless intensity. A single bottle of cologne lasted for years when used sparingly, and the gesture had an elegance to it, the idea that a home deserved to be perfumed as carefully as its owner. Cologne and lavender water are still sold today, but almost nobody thinks to use them around the house anymore. We have outsourced the job to plastic devices on the wall and lost the quiet refinement of a few drops on a handkerchief tucked out of sight. Number 5. Simmering spices on the back of the stove. When the house needed to smell welcoming, perhaps before visitors arrived, or simply on a grey Sunday, your nan would set a small pan of water on the lowest heat at the back of the range and drop in whatever the cupboard offered. Orange or lemon peel saved from breakfast, a stick of cinnamon, a few cloves, a bay leaf, a scrape of nutmeg. As it gently steamed, that warm, spiced, fruity fragrance rose and drifted through every room, filling the house with a smell that was somehow both cooking and comfort without anything actually being cooked. It cost only the scraps that would otherwise have gone in the bin and a little gas, and it could be topped up and kept going for hours. This was the original simmering potpourri, decades before it was given a fashionable name and sold in jars. The smell seeped into the curtains and clung pleasantly until the next day. It is perhaps the easiest habit on this whole list to bring back tomorrow. A pan of peelings and spice on a low light, and a house transformed into something warm and inviting for next to nothing. Number 4. Newspaper and vinegar on the windows. A clean home is a fresh-smelling home, and few things made a room feel brighter and sweeter than properly cleaned windows, which your nan achieved with nothing but vinegar and yesterday's newspaper. She mixed white vinegar with warm water in a bowl, wiped the glass down, then polished it dry and streak-free with crumpled sheets of newsprint. The result was glass so clear it seemed to let in more light, and a faint, clean tang of vinegar that aired off within the hour, leaving the room feeling washed and new. The newspaper, far from leaving smears, buffed the glass to a brilliant shine that paper towels could never match, and it used up the reed paper into the bargain, so nothing was wasted. It cost only a splash of vinegar and the previous day's news. There was satisfaction in it, too. The squeak of clean glass, the light pouring through afterwards. We buy blue sprays and rolls of kitchen towel now, spending far more for a poorer shine, while the cheapest and best window cleaner in Britain, a bottle of vinegar, and the paper on the doormat, sits ignored. Number 3. The smell of baking bread. If there is one smell that throws a British person straight back 50 years in a single breath, it is the smell of bread baking in the oven, and for generations it filled the home at least once a week. Whether your nan baked a proper loaf, a batch of scones, or simply a tray of buns on a Saturday morning, that warm, yeasty, comforting smell spread to every corner of the house and out of the open window to the street beyond. It was the smell of a home that was lived in and cared for, and it lingered for hours after the oven was switched off. Baking was partly thrift. A homemade loaf cost a fraction of a bought one. But it was also love, the smell itself a kind of welcome to anyone who walked through the door. Estate agents will tell you to this day that nothing sells a house faster than the smell of fresh baking, precisely because it reaches something deep and wordless in us. We buy our bread plastic-wrapped now, and the ovens stay cold. And a smell that once meant home above all others has faded from the British house almost completely. Number 2, hanging the washing on the line. There is a smell that cannot be bottled, however hard the manufacturers try, and that is the smell of sheets and shirts dried outdoors in the wind and sun. Your Nan would not have dreamed of doing otherwise. Wash day meant the line strung across the yard or the garden, the prop holding it high, and the whole family's laundry snapping and billowing in the breeze. When she brought it in, stiff and cool and smelling of pure, fresh air, the scent went right through the house as the airing cupboard filled and the beds were made. That clean, indefinable freshness, part sunshine, part wind, part something science still cannot fully name, was the smell of clean itself. It cost nothing at all, just a fine day and a peg bag. The whole soap and softener industry has spent decades and untold millions trying to recreate that smell in a bottle labeled Spring Fresh or Summer Breeze. And they have never quite managed it, because the real thing comes only from the sky. We tumble dry now behind closed doors, and the line stands empty, and a smell that defined British homes has been all but lost. Number 1, the lavender-pressed, freshly aired bed. And so to the most intimate forgotten habit of all, the one that gathered up so many of the others into a single act of care, the making of a properly fresh bed. After the linen had dried on the line in the open air, your Nan would iron it while it was still slightly damp. Into the water of the iron, or sprinkled lightly over the sheets, went a little lavender water. The heat pressed that soft, clean scent deep into the cotton, and the smell of warm linen and lavender filled the bedroom as she worked. Then the bed was made up, the windows were opened to air the room, a lavender bag was tucked under the pillow, and the whole thing came together into something more than a chore. It was the smell you fell asleep in, night after night, the smell of being cared for and safe. Of every habit on this list, this is the one that lingers longest in memory, because it was the last thing you breathed in each night, and the first thing you woke to. We sleep now between sheets that smell of nothing but the softener off the supermarket shelf. Your Nan knew that a bed, like a home, should smell of fresh air and lavender, and that the smallest, oldest habits were the ones that mattered most. There they are, 20 forgotten British habits that kept the home smelling fresh without a single aerosol or plug-in. Pick just one this week, a pan of simmering peel, a bowl of vinegar after cooking, or the washing out on the line, and see if your grandmother was on to something all along. Let me know in the comments which one your Nan swore by, because I would wager every home had its own.